New video has leaked from the set of Rust featuring Alec Baldwin, just as charges of manslaughter are being potentially refiled. We got Christopher Melcher to break it all down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. Do people still care about this story? Well, you better, because it's about to come back. I got Chris here, and we talked about this before, Christopher. I know we both feel like Alec Baldwin was responsible in a way for this incident that happened on the set of Rust, but it seemed like he got away with it. But now it looks like new charges are about to be filed. You suspect any moment now. Can you elaborate further on what your thoughts are here on this new charge that's brewing?
Sure. So just to recap, charges were filed. A preliminary hearing was set, I think for like May 3rd. And then all of a sudden the prosecutor just dropped the charges. And so, now we're hearing about potentially refiling it through a grand jury indictment. But what was happening before was that the prosecution team had a lot of problems. Alec Baldwin hired, incredible counsel and was putting up a vigorous defense, and the prosecution was making mistake after mistake. Now, we do see this happen when kind of small counties have a high-profile case. They're not used to it. They don't have the budget. This prosecutor had to go to the Board of Supervisors to get extra funding for her office to prosecute this case. So this isn't like downtown LA or Manhattan or something like that. These prosecutors just aren't equipped to do that, and they made mistake after mistake, and it was really embarrassing. Even though I thought the facts were there to justify the involuntary manslaughter charge against Alec Baldwin, prosecution was falling apart. And eventually they dismissed the cases. Now, they said at the time of the dismissal that as new evidence develops, they may refile, and that's the right of the prosecutor to do that, as long as they're within the statute of limitations or legal deadline to do that. So I don't know what new information, though, really would be developed. They investigated that extensively with the DA's office, the sheriff's office. They also had help of the FBI and had consultants involved. So what new information could have developed? Who knows? But they're going to retool, reboot 2.0 prosecution with a grand jury. It looks like it's going to happen. Now, the other reason why I think it's going to happen is we're seeing now this video outtakes from the Rust production being leaked. I'll talk about who I think leaked it in a moment, but we're also seeing this come out, which is a good sign that something is about to happen.
Yeah, it's very telling. I didn't even realize this leaked, and not a lot of people seem to realize it leaks. But let's look at this. These are new clips leaked from the show that show Alec being safe.
Now, wait a second. If I'm going to shoot right, you want to go on the other side of the camera? I don't want to shoot toward you. Go! You okay?
Everyone okay?
We're all good.
The camera. Let me see the camera.
You all right?
Yeah, all good.
Let's stop. I'm getting nervous because do we want you? I'm going to follow you.
Okay.
So I want you to go along. I don't know why you're going up hills and all this other. You're going to break your neck.
Yeah.
So I want you to lead him on the nicest path.
I would, but I'm
No. I want you to go on the nicest path.
Yeah.
And I'm going to follow you.
So
now, wait a second.
interesting here, right? So it's trying to paint him as being the precautious, safe producer that everyone's saying he wasn't and what he did. And yeah, I mean, I assume you're going to say his team must have leaked this, right? Because this is clearly evidence that is supporting his narrative, not the prosecution's.
That's right. And, when we're looking for leaks, the question is, who does this help? This helps him. And this is exactly the type of conduct that we would want to see from somebody as experienced as Alec Baldwin, who was also acting as a producer on this production, to basically saying like, hey, I'm aware that I am pointing this, object here in the direction of folks that should not be there, and I want them cleared out of that pathway. That shows that he understands the dangerous aspects of what he's doing. That other thing about, the cameraman falling was because the cameraman was kind of moving backwards while he's getting this scene, but running in uphill and eventually into this little dirt thing and tripped. So Alec Baldwin's saying, hey, let's just redo this differently and have the cameraman follow this nice flat path, and I'll adapt to that so that person's safe. So again, pro Alec, I got to think it was Alec's team that leaked it ahead of knowing that the grand jury is going to now indict him, basically refile these criminal charges against him.
And they didn't just leak it. They put it in the TikTok format with subtitles and everything. It's pretty crazy telling. Now, I guess but the interesting question now is, does that change things? I'll be honest, watching this shows that it seems like he would have been the type that wouldn't have pulled said trigger on the set. Could this change opinions from a judge or a jury to see this footage to say, well, look, we got him being, careful. I guess I don't know. I don't know if you know. Was the shot of Halyna actually recorded as well? Do we know if that was taped or was that just rehearsed and not taped?
No, I can't remember if they were rolling on that. I think they were, but I don't know.
Because that would have been pretty
that.
telling and show it, because he would have been. I imagine if we had that, that would have answered our questions. So being that we don't have that, does this potentially, you think, change some opinions?
Well, I mean, sure. In a jury trial, it could be very important because we're looking at, essentially, was he reckless? Did he fail to use due regard for human life when he's handling a dangerous object and pointing that dangerous object at other humans? And we know pulling the trigger. He says not. I think yes. But he's performing an inherently dangerous act. Was he being safe or not? And in these other instances, he's absolutely being safe. And they're not probably too distant in time from the terrible act that happened. So I think it is going to be relevant. Now, obviously, people can be on their game one day and be horrifically bad another. So I think ultimately, I still believe that he's criminally liable for involuntary manslaughter because he took possession of that weapon without anyone demonstrating to him that the weapon was clear of live rounds. And there were other safety violations on this set involving firearms. So that is going to, certainly going to come out by the prosecution.
Well,
but,
it's important to say, it's important, not to interrupt, sorry, but it's important because what you just said is someone disagrees. It's like, well, but if he had checked it, she'd be alive. Like at the end of the day, that's the reality that he needs to face. I don't believe he did it intentionally, obviously, but he clearly didn't check that firearm, because if he had, she'd still be here, no?
It absolutely, and it would have taken seconds. And a lot of times when, we have, a vigorous debate about this, which I love. And the debate on the other side is usually, this guy's an actor. He's not trained. He doesn't know. He's relying on professionals. This video actually hurts him because he's saying right at the beginning, hey, I'm aware of what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to shoot right. You should be on the other side. He's actually he's like laying on his back in a pile of dirt directing this. He knows it. So, and this is something that we've been talking about. This guy's not a newbie. He's been on set a million times with this exact type of situation before. And there's very clear rules. There's an industry bulletin, which is basically law on the set on how you act safely. And it involves rigorous checking, physical and physical checking of this device to make sure that this doesn't happen, because we know it's happened before. So, him saying, oh, I'm just a dumb actor, I don't know anything. Well, that's totally disproved actually by this clip.
Right. Interesting.
So, it just depends on how the lawyers, kind of argue it and what the jurors are inclined to believe. Obviously, terrible tragedy. I have been, like I say, a proponent of the prosecution, but I'm really dismayed at how that first prosecution went down and basically, the wheels came off. And now to redo it, at some point, my sympathies move towards him, because I think it's like having the weight of the state on your back in a criminal prosecution after, this horrible act happened, which is clearly, not intentional or anything like that. Terrible thing for everyone to go through, and then to have a failed prosecution and then to have a new prosecution. At some point, it's just like, hey, you guys got to get your stuff together and do it correctly the first time. So I'm bothered that, that they didn't just pursue the case as they should have.
Well, and a final thought from me, and then I'll get your final thought, but a lot of this, just the release of these videos, and I'm going to bring up another thing. Alec Baldwin this past week made an appearance on Saturday Night Live, which is he's like, as a Saturday Night Live scholar, he's like the highest he's been the longest running host on the program. He's clearly very good friends with Lorne Michaels and that show. And for him to like make an appearance, like he's back, hey everybody, business as usual. it was odd to me, the timing of that. Why suddenly are you there? That coupled now, clearly he knows these charges are brewing. And now with this footage being leaked, it does feel a little bit manipulative. That said, if he's innocent, he wants to do everything he can to prove that. What do you think? Manipulating, just defending himself? Is this all fair game?
Oh yeah, I think it's fair game. I mean, it's a lot of this is, we got court of law and then we got court of public opinion. And so, this is a highly publicized event and it's extraordinarily important because these incidents have happened over and over again. And despite that, and despite having the industry bulletin of how to do this safely, there's multiple safety rules. Had one of them been observed, just one of those rules been followed, this tragedy would not have occurred. So we got to learn from it. And so I like that that's still in the public eye because otherwise people are going to continue to get hurt for the careless use of these objects on set.
There you go. Well said. Careless, reckless. Those are things I think he was, while still maybe obviously not doing it intentionally. If you want more legal takes, make sure to go follow Christopher Melcher over at CA_divorce on Twitter. And you can subscribe here for more analysis when he drops in. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified, and smash that like button. What do you think on this? Does this help you feel more for Alec Baldwin? Less? I want to hear your thoughts. Does this change your opinion on the case? Please let us know below, and make sure you join us later today with more content here on Popcorn Planet.